Hey YouTube, Pete Turner here, and I'm back again with another video with one key difference. You'll notice that this has been aired on the Ellusionist platform. That's right, for the foreseeable future, I'll be taking the content that I usually put on my own channel and I'll be sharing it here because I feel it's a better fit. And that means that I get to share a series of tips, tricks and techniques to elevate your performances to the next level. And guess what? It's completely free. Which is absolutely perfect because I'm not going to be advertising things, I'm not going to try to sell things to you. It's just going to be me, you, and you get an insight into what it's like to be a mentalist, traveling, touring, working, lecturing, the stress of everything else that goes on behind the scenes. And from time to time, I'll get to play a mind experiment or a mind game with you, the viewers at home. And that's how I'd like to start today's video.
Say what?
So if you want to participate in this mind experiment, it's really simple. All you've got to do, if you're sat down, sit with your feet flat on the floor. If you're stood up, pay close attention to the device that you're watching this on and ignore everything else around you. We're going to attempt a world first. I'm going to try the burglass effect or any card at any number through the screen. So not only am I going to be influencing you a playing card, but we're going to see if you can pick up on the position that that particular playing card's at inside this deck. And if you get 1 out of 2, I'll be impressed. So let's start with the card. Completely clear your mind and think of the value of a playing card. Tell me when you've got one in mind. Good. So let's randomize this a bit. If you're thinking of a number card, change to a picture card. And if you thirst for a picture card, change to a number, just so you're somewhere brand new. Let's make a couple more changes. If you're now on a number card, change to any other number you want. And if you're on a male court card, change to a female. Anywhere else, just stick. So now we have the value, we need the suit. So I want you to think of the suit that you feel best connects with this card. So if you're thinking of an ace, we know the spade would fit the best. I'm not thinking of a spade, but I want you to think of what you feel fits the value that you're thinking of the best. So now you have a card in mind. This is where it gets interesting. I've placed one card position inside this deck. I want you to imagine you're in this room with me. You're holding on to this deck of cards and you encase it between your hands like this. I want you to imagine that you could feel the exact position that card were at. So if you thought it were at say 23, in a moment when I deal down, we'll see if I deal 23 cards. It's not 23, so take your time. I'm going to give you 5 seconds. You hold onto the deck like this in your mind and you just think, what position is that card at? So now you have a number in mind. I'm going to deal down to the number that I were trying to put into your head. And let's see how close you got. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I was thinking of the 17th card. Were you thinking of 17? Let me know in the comments. If you weren't thinking of 17, you might still have picked up at the card that were at that position. I was thinking of the Queen of Hearts. Is that the card that you got? Even if you didn't get the number and you just got the Queen of Hearts, let me know in the comments. I'm excited. On this channel, we're going to play more of those games in the future, so stay tuned. But on to the purpose of this project. Over my lifetime in magic and mentalism, I've worked on some fairly ambitious things, but this project is the most ambitious project of all. This is Project Life. So now we're back from that intro sequence. Let me explain why it's called Project Life. I sat and thought to myself, what do I want to call this series? I mean, I'm a mentalist, I travel, I create products, I perform on stage, I share ideas, I lecture, I consult on television. What should I call it? I don't want to just be another vlogger. So I thought, you know what? What do I want from life? That might answer the question. I realized that the answer to the question was in the question. It's life. I want to live life to the max and I want to give you a glimpse behind the scenes of all of that so that you can decide whether this is the sort of thing that you want to do for a living. So I thought, would it be interesting to show you what the E-Team are like behind the scenes? What's it like when I go on a shoot with the E-Team in Miami or wherever else? What's it like when I think up an idea and I bring it from creation to development and then from development to actual market and show you that process so that you can see the key elements that it takes to do that? To give you a behind the scenes of the stress on the run up to a stage performance or a lecture, to show you how to control your nerves in situations like that, how to go out and actively perform and make the plots interesting, how to create material, to give you a glimpse into what it's like when I go camping on my motorbike or I'm riding about on my quad bikes or I'm just messing about in general. And I thought all of that can be captured underneath this umbrella, and that's why it should be called Project Life. So today's video is primarily about the most asked question that I ever get when I'm lecturing, when I'm just on my phone. I probably get this question every single day. And the question is, how do I move from magic into mentalism? But before we get into that, because there's going to be a nice little section where I'll share a few ideas with you. Before we get into that, I'd like to tell you what I've been up to this week. So this week I got a call from a friend of mine, Nathan Lindley. Nathan said to me, "Oh bro, I've just gone into my mum's attic and I was digging through some stuff and I found my old airsoft guns." And these were airsoft guns that he'd not seen for years, but he rang me up and he's like, "Bro, do you want me to bring them round so we can shoot each other?" Who doesn't want to mess about with airsoft guns? In my head, I just bought this quad, and in my head I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to slide round the corner and pew, pew, shoot him slow motion with these airsoft guns. That was the vision that I had inside my head. Anyway, he got these guns and he's looking through them, and I get another call and he's sending me photographs of these guns, and he sends me one that looked remarkably like a rifle from the Metal Gear Solid video game series, and I said, we need to shoot with that. I'm not much of a gamer, but Metal Gear Solid is one of my favourite video games of all time. If you've played Metal Gear Solid 1, it's an absolute beast of a game. Number 2 is amazing, and so is number 3. And after backwards in and forwards in, Nathan were like, "Do you think we'd be able to shoot a Metal Gear Solid shot?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And when we got the guns, I was like, "Oh, it's annoying that we didn't have these when we were kids."
Can you imagine if we had these when we were 12?
Even better. We got them when we're 40.
So I needed some smoke grenades, so we tried to track some down to no avail. And then I remembered, if you ever want anything like that, just head over to my hometown, which is Bradford. You can find anything. So I'm driving down this, what looks to be an abandoned industrial estate that's just piled with crap. And all of a sudden, in the corner, there's this beat up cash and carry. And it looks like something out of a horror scene. And I get in there and it's in a little Aladdin's cave that's like a menagerie of crap that's just packed with all sorts. And then I located the smoke grenades. We got the smoke grenades. We rode off on the quad into the middle of nowhere, packed the quad with camera gear, guns, smoke grenades, and we just shot. And we just hit and hope. We didn't know what we were going to end up with. We didn't really have any rhyme or reason. But this is the footage that we ended up with.
You got yourself a Glock. You need to get out of there, Snake. Fire one of those smoke grenades so our team in the bird can locate you. There's not a moment to waste. And Snake, good luck.
The brilliant thing about that piece of footage is that we didn't think about the events that had been happening in the world. For a few hours, everything just disappeared. There were no problems, there were no worries, no stress. And even though it's a bit cheesy, it was so fun to do. And that's what this project's about. It's to remind you that just to go out there and do what you want to do. Go out there and live life the way that you want to live it, because you can do whatever you want to do with a little bit of thought. It's just, instead of thinking or talking about it, just go out and do it and don't worry about anybody else. So the purpose of today's video is to answer the most frequently asked question that I get. It's how do I move from being a magician to a mentalist? And the honesty is, it's very easy. There's nothing that's too difficult about it. And I put a lot of my thoughts in the How to Read Minds box set. I'm not here to pitch that product to you or sell it to you or share it with you. You know, I'm not going to put a link to it. Buy it, don't buy it, I don't care. You know, it doesn't matter to me, but you'll get some good value out of that box set. There's a lot of things in there. There's hours of content that will enable you to go out and absolutely start dominating when it comes to mentalism.
You can read minds.
So the first thing is this: don't just jump into it and say, I'm now a mentalist, because, you know, by changing your title, it doesn't make it so. But it's very, very easy to actually become a mentalist. And all you've got to do is take what you already know and give it a slight twist. What do I mean by that? Well, first start to watch mentalism. Watch how people approach mentalism. Watch your favourite mentalist. Find your favourite mentalist. Think about what you want to look like when you present mentalism. And there's three main components when it comes to being believable. The first one is what I'm saying credible? Think about it. If you were to look at me and I said to you, oh, I'm a grade A psychology major, and I'm going to be able to psychoanalyze your mindset to be able to tell you things about yourself, there's no way that I should be able to know. You'd look at me and go, no, you're not. You know, it's not believable. Even at my age, it's not believable. If you're, you know, under 19, 20 and you tell somebody that you're a pro psychologist, they're not going to believe it. They're not going to believe that you're psychoanalyzing people. A lot of people don't believe in psychics. So the best way to do it is to approach it from a perspective that's very light and say, you know, I'm working on a few new things where I'm trying to learn to read people. I'm trying to learn to get inside the head. Can I show you what it is that I'm working on? And that prevents a couple of things from happening. If you walk up to somebody and say, I can read minds, they're going to turn around to you and say, well, go on then. What am I thinking now? And the problem is when they ask that question, if you don't have a good enough answer, you're dead in the water before you've started. So the best answer to that question is this. Somebody says to you, go on then, you're a mind reader. What am I thinking now? You say, you're thinking about denying the next thing that I say to you. And when they go, no, I'm not, you go. If they say, am I? You say, well, if you don't know your own mind, I don't know it. But let's find out if I can read your mind. So that's the first thing, is be credible. Think about how you're going to approach this. I always think the softly approach is the better approach. If you're just getting into this, if you say you're trying it, you know, you're learning it, it doesn't matter if you fail or you get something wrong, because they'll give you that leeway now to be able to try again. Or when you've got another experiment, it's fun for them because it's not too perfect and you're not claiming to be something you're not. If you want to go down the psychic route, well then you go down that psychic route. You know, tell them that you've had an epiphany and you're having visions, and don't worry about what anybody else says. I'm not here to promote that or advocate it, but it's up to you. You have to choose the path that you are ordained to go down. I can't do that for you. Then you need material. So material's a completely different thing. Now, the best way for you to go out and do this is this. You know when you do a pick a card trick and you ask somebody to put the card in the middle and then you control the card to the top? It's something that most card magicians know how to do. Well, have you ever thought about giving them a pen to write the name of somebody that means something to them on that card? Control it to the top and then get your peek, get your look at it like you usually would. Palm it off for a second, look at it. Now you can pretend to read the person that means something to them and then nail the playing card on the back end. Use the card techniques that you know with billets. And if you don't know what a billet is, a billet's essentially a piece of card. We just call them billets. It's a piece of card that you can use in place of a playing card. Learn a series of techniques like that. For example, take your ambitious card routine. So you know the ambitious, you do a DL. I'm not going to say what that is out loud. If you don't know what a DL is and you don't know what the ambitious card routine is, go find it. Turn it over. Ask them to write something on it. Flip it over whilst you're not looking and say, look, I'm going to put that in the middle, like this. And then you say, now in a moment, I'm going to take one of these cards and pick the top card up. You're now looking at their card. And you say, I'm going to try to work out what it is you're thinking of and write it down here. And you say, let me give them a cut for a second. In fact, we'll use this one. And now you pretend to read them. Getting the information is not the hard part. If you don't want to go down the route of names and words and numbers and everything else, stick to a playing card. It's really simple. Force a playing card. Or do a usual pick a card routine where you'd make the card appear from somewhere like your pocket or whatever and cut the back end off. And all you've got to do is, when you find out what the card is, pretend that you're reading them. So that leads me to this. How do you pretend you're reading somebody? Well, if you know somebody's thinking of the Seven of Hearts, don't just look at them and go, Seven of Hearts, right? It doesn't work, right? What you've got to do is you've got to create a theatricality around that. You've got to wrap a theatricality around it. And what I mean by that is this. You're looking at them and you're like, just imagine telling me the colour of this card. Imagine, say, okay. Be honest, are you lying to me to try to throw me off here? And if they say yes at that point, you go, I thought so. And if they go no, you go, good, just keep focusing on it. It doesn't matter how they answer that question, but it seems like you're trying to work them out. Look at them a little bit deeper into their eyes. Ask them a question. You know, say to them, is this your favourite colour when it comes to the playing cards? If they say no, yes, you go, okay, it's a red card. Just keep saying in your head, heart or diamond. Don't say out loud, just inside your head. Keep saying it over and over for me. Louder, turn it up so I can hear it. Okay, this has got a soft sound. This is hearts, right? And notice how I'm dragging that out a little bit and making it feel like I'm reading them. Take hold of their hand. You know, obviously in COVID, it's a bit of a difficult thing to do. But when we get outside of this, physical contact's always good. You're taking somebody's hand and you're saying, look at me. Just imagine telling me, screaming it at me louder and louder and louder. Look right at me. It's the Seven of Hearts, right? You see the difference between this is the Seven of Hearts and just imagine telling me the colour. And it doesn't matter if you know the information, drag that bit out just a little bit so it feels like you can nail things that somebody's thinking of. Say things that they're not thinking of, you know. Imagine saying to them, there's going to be a lot of different things that are coming into my head. Don't say anything at all. Okay, the first thing that I'm getting here is used to draw but doesn't do that so much. Has recently just promised themselves that they're going to make a big change in some way. And I think also is either just moved house or looking at moving. Is the card you're thinking of red? And when they say yes, all that you said there is confirmed by them saying yes to the colour red, right? And everybody else believes you're reading that person. You can be really, really sneaky if you really wanted to. And you could say, you know what, I'm not getting the card. I'm really not getting the card. I did, however, pick up on something else. Whilst I was trying to read you, I'm not going to say this out loud because I don't want to embarrass myself if it's something that's too private. And then you lean in and you say, come in, I'm going to whisper it. And you whisper and you say, I wanted to whisper this because I didn't want to be embarrassed. Were you thinking of the Seven of Hearts? And when they flip out, how did you know that? You know, they're going crazy, they're going mad. You then say, we'll keep that between you and me. And now the entire audience think you've just revealed a big secret. Think about how you're going to approach stuff. Think about, you know, being credible. Think about the material that you're going to perform. That third bit was the delivery. Think about the delivery. You don't have to wear suits and you don't have to have chalkboards and you don't have to use billets. You can use the routines that you're already doing. You can take the routines you've already got and you can mold them to make them look like mentalism. If you've got a equivoque and you know an equivoque piece, turn it into a piece of mental magic. You know, if you can control a card to the top, have somebody write on it and sneakily look at it so you know the name. Ham it up, talk about it. Mentalism's more about the premise and the plot than it is the actual effect, right? So the idea is that you've got to make it seem like you know more than you do. And for the person that I'm talking to right now, you've recently been thinking about traveling and you said to yourself that you're going to put more time into practicing, but recently you've been distracted and you've not done that. So you need to tell yourself that you're going to do that. And I also think as well, this is strange because when I said the Seven of Hearts, you were thinking that's the card that I'd have thought of. Now that's invariably going to be important to one of you, but it seems like I'm looking at you and it seems like I'm reading you and it seems like I'm talking about things that are important there that are not really important. Create an interesting narrative, create an interesting piece of mentalism based on the magic you already know. Just turn it into a piece of mentalism. Find the mentalists that you like to watch, look at their material. The rule is really to read and buy as much as you can, or as much as you can afford, so that you can learn as much as possible. Deliver it the way that I showed you. Don't just go, this is this. ham it up a little bit, drag it out a little bit. And if you're nervous about this stuff, I've just give you the perfect out. Say, I'm just learning to do this. So if you get it wrong, there's no pressure. And the most important thing of all, if you completely do get it wrong, and let's say you miss the force of a playing card or something's gone wrong in you controlling it or whatever, you simply look at the person, you say, you know what, that tells me everything that I need to know about you. Let's try this again. This time I'm more focused and I know exactly how you think. And that's it, try it again for a second time. That's your get out of jail free card. It's so easy. Imagine, for example, that they've squiggled a name instead of wrote it clearly, and you've received that card and looked at it and thought, oh my God, what does that say? Shuffle it into the middle, ask them a couple of questions and go, do you know what? Ignore the name that you're thinking of. I think I now know how you think. It tells me everything I need to know about you. Here's a different card. Write it in block capitals now so that you can stare at each letter individually, because that's the way you'll best focus on this. Put it in the middle, you now control it to the top, have another little look at it, and boom, you're set to go. It's nice and it's easy. I wanted to keep this video relatively short because it's the first in a series of videos. The rest of these are going to be jam-packed with different stuff, and the next video is going to be how to deal with nerves in performance, how to get rid of the shakes, how to approach people, because that's never really been talked about, how to confidently perform, and how to keep people engaged, which is the most important thing. So thank you for tuning into this video. I've been Pete Turner. Take care, till next time, bye.